Hello everyone, this is Jason from Primetime Aquatics, and I am so excited to bring you fish that are right behind me in this 50-gallon lowboy. We have got an awesome species profile for you today. It is the rainbow shiner, an extremely versatile fish because they don't get very large, they don't need a heater, but they can actually withstand warmer temperatures. We're going to talk about them. Hope you enjoy the video. Appreciate you being here. As you can see here, I think it's pretty self-explanatory why the rainbow shiner is such a cool fish. This is a group that we have in a 50-gallon lowboy. That tank is 4 feet long, 24 inches wide, but only 10 inches tall. It has a canister filter on there, a Waza Biomaster that kicks out a decent amount of flow and kind of gives it almost like a whirlpool sort of effect. So we got good flow, not super strong, but strong enough where these rainbow shiners are really going to enjoy it. This is one of the first fish that I featured in a species profile that actually comes from the United States. I'll put the map right there up on the screen, but we're looking at the southeast part of the United States, and as such, the water parameters in that area can vary drastically from season to season. Generally speaking, these fish, one of the cool things about them is they inhabit waters that have a wide temperature range, but are usually going to be of moderately high water hardness and a decently high pH. So this is a very, very robust fish that is going to fit into a number of different aquatic habitats, as we're going to see a little bit later. Obviously, the color on these fish are amazing. The males are going to show much better color than the females. And a lot of times that male that you see there that's got that blue, that comes through much, much more so. And you'll have a lot of males colored up all at the same time. There are times when I come down here and the fish are really fired up and full of color. One of the things you have to be a little bit careful about is when you go on the internet and you see pictures of rainbow shiners, often those are taken when the males are really fired up, they're in breeding season. They don't look like that all the time. And that's why I wanted to show you these pictures here and this video here of what these fish will look like. Quite often, they're still a little bit on the smaller side. There's still some room for them to grow. There is still some color for them to achieve, but they're not necessarily always going to look like pure electric blue. But when they do, they will be one of the most colorful fish in your fish tank. This is the 50-gallon lowboy. It's got a couple of AI aqua illumination lights on there, some of the best lights in the entire industry. I'll put a video I did on the LED lights in the upper right-hand corner if you want to check that out. This is, like I said, a great fish. Very peaceful fish. That's another thing that's so awesome about them. And they don't get very large. They're going to max out right around a couple inches or so. But if you're looking for a fish that's got really intense color, is active, and look at what they're doing. They're actually schooling together fairly tightly, and that's what they often do. Every once in a while, you'll get a group that kind of breaks off from the larger group. But for the most part, this is what they tend to do in my aquarium. One thing to keep in mind, though, in terms of lifespan, typically you're in captivity, you're probably just going to get a couple years out of these fish, so they're not going to be super, super long-lived fish. Now, keeping these fish with other fish, not hard to do. Again, these are peaceful, so keep that in mind. By the way, if you are looking for these, check out Flip Aquatics, flipaquatics.com. They have them in stock as of the making of this video, so check them out in the description below. Great place. They quarantine all their fish for at least 2 weeks, their shrimp for 4, so you know you're going to be getting healthy fish and shrimp from them. But keep these guys in groups. That's where they're going to be the happiest. That's where they're going to show off the most color, the most personality. At least 6. I believe I've got about 18 in this tank. The more, the better. It's just really going to help them be comfortable in their surroundings. But keeping them with other fish, not really all that difficult to do. So I mentioned earlier in the video that this fish can withstand a wide range of water parameters, especially water temperature. A lot of people think that the rainbow shiner is strictly a cool water fish. That's just not true. You can go anywhere from around 60 up to 80. We actually keep them close to around 78 to 80 and do that long term, and they live a long, healthy, happy life just as long as when we're keeping them in cooler water. But they can go down into the cooler temperatures, and so keeping that in mind, your tank mates might be a little bit different. If you want a cool water, unheated aquarium, you can have the rainbow shiners, maybe have them mix them with white clouds, mystery snails, bristlenose plecos, panda cories, hillstream loaches. What about the paradise fish? That might be a really nice centerpiece fish for them. If you want to keep them a little warmer like we do, well, that opens up pretty much all the community fish at that point. Your smaller non-fin nippy tetras, your peaceful barbs like your snakeskin barbs and your cherry barbs, smaller gouramis, the dwarf gourami, the honey gourami, the sparkling gourami, your peacock gudgeons, empire gudgeons, they're actually in this tank as well. A lot of your loaches, so things like your dwarf chain loach might be a really cool option, or your red-tailed botillas. You've got a lot of options depending on how you keep the water temperatures. A couple things to keep in mind. In nature, these fish do like to prey on invertebrates. It's one of their main types of foods and insects. So if you're trying to keep them with shrimp, temperature-wise, it works just fine, but shrimplets may go missing. I doubt they're gonna have much of an impact on adult shrimp, but your shrimplets will probably be fish food. Also keep in mind with bettas, those long flowing fins sometimes can be a little bit irresistible. Probably not something that I would keep with the rainbow shiners, although I think people have probably done it and had very few issues. I just wouldn't mix those together. Now, I've already mentioned in terms of temperature, the water parameters, anywhere from, like I said, low 60s up to 80s. It's never been a problem for us. pH, you're looking at anywhere from around 6.5 to upper 6s. We keep them at a pH of 8. Again, no issues whatsoever. Water hardness on your GH and KH anywhere from mid upper single digits all the way up to 20 degrees on your GH and KH, probably going to be just fine there. By the way, if you don't know what water hardness is, check out that video in the upper right hand corner. We've done a full explanation there. It's really good stuff to know if you're in the aquarium keeping hobby. Feeding these fish, really easy to do. We feed them all North Fin foods. That's what we feed all of our fish, so they go crazy for the North Fin flakes. We will do Bug Pro. We will do some of the micro pellets. And if you really want to see them go crazy, again, they love the smaller insect type foods. And so we feed a lot of live baby brine to our rainbow shiners, and they absolutely love it. If you've never hatched it, check out that video in the upper right hand corner. It is a lot of fun to watch small fish go crazy for live foods. For water quality, this is not a fish that's going to do well with an ammonia spike or a nitrite spike. So just make sure that your aquarium is fully cycled, no nitrite, no ammonia, no nitrite, and we try to keep our nitrates at 20 parts per million or less. Now for the aquarium size, this is a relatively small fish. Again, they're going to max out right around 2 inches or so. They do like to hang out together. This is typically the way that you're going to find them. A 20 gallon to me is about as small as I would go. Could you make an argument for a 10 gallon? Maybe, but this can also be sometimes an active fish. They do like to swim around. And for that reason, I really do think either the standard 20 or a 20 long is a really nice setup, especially if you can get 8 to 10 of these guys. That is going to be absolutely awesome. When you're setting up your aquarium, they're not super picky. You really don't have to worry about the substrate and what type because they don't interact with the substrate. So if you've got cory cats or loaches or something, use those fish to determine what kinds of substrates you're going to use. Sand is always the most versatile. However, it doesn't really matter for these fish in and of themselves. I do like to have structure for them, and so in this 50-gallon lowboy, you're seeing rocks and plants. You can add some driftwood. It's not necessarily that they're going to spend a lot of time in that structure, but if they do feel a little bit threatened, a little bit scared, sometimes they will retreat next to that structure. But make sure for these fish, give them some open areas to swim because they are open water swimmers, and they're going to like that. I mentioned at the beginning of the video, when you're setting up your filtration, a little bit of flow would be nice for them. They do enjoy it. It doesn't have to be a river system setup or anything like that, but they do like to have a little flow. You can see with this setup, my canister filter is in the return is actually in the upper left-hand corner there on the other side of the tank because the filter kind of creates, like I said, this whirlpool type of effect. But I do find them every once in a while closer to the return of that filter getting a little bit more flow. So they can kind of choose how much flow they want in that aquarium the way it's set up. Breeding these fish, they are egg scatterers similar to your rainbow fish and a lot of your tetras. So if you want to breed them, a lot of times it's easiest if you've got a group and you've got a spawning mop, let them go ahead and they will mate. The eggs will attach to the spawning mop. You remove the mop because the fish will eat the eggs. They will eat the fry, so you have to separate them. And then when you're feeding the fry, they're going to be tiny, infusoria, and then later on live baby brine. A lot of people have more success with just a pair. Obviously, it's easy to tell them apart. Those males are going to have that electric blue. The females, not so much. So if you just have a pair and they breed,
the two fish are going to be less likely to eat the eggs, because sometimes what they do is if you've got a big group like this and you've got some of them spawning, the other inhabitants in that tank are just going to eat the eggs. They're never even going to have a chance to hatch because they're going to be in the bellies of the other fish. So if you want to maximize breeding success, you just put a pair in there, a spawning mop, or some people use like large pieces of marble. The eggs will fall to the bottom, get the parents out, let the eggs hatch, and then feed them, like I said, the infusoria or the live baby brine. This is a great fish. If you haven't tried them before, it's gonna take some patience. And so a lot of times people will buy these fish, and even a month, 2 months, 3 months down the line, like, what the heck? This fish looks nothing like the pictures that I've seen. And then all of a sudden, you'll start to see those males really fire up. And once they do, they tend to do that pretty much almost every day, and you're gonna see them looking amazing. Once again, if you want to learn how to hatch live baby brine, check out that video in the upper right-hand corner. If you want to learn a lot more about water hardness, check out that video in the lower right-hand corner. Really appreciate you being here, and we'll see you in the next one.